video is the ultimate guide that will help you ace the IGCSE Physics Paper 2 exam, which is the multiple choice exam, and make sure that you get the A star by the end of it. All of these tips are last minute tips since you guys' exams are coming very soon, and these are the tips that help me get a 94% in my Physics Paper 2 exam. So I'm sure they'll help you guys too, and with that, let's get right into the video. Now before we get into it, this video has been very kindly brought to you by SciSpace. SciSpace is an amazing platform for students like yourself who study maths and physics because of its specific features like the deep review feature as well as the browser control feature. SciSpace's deep review feature is a one-of-a-kind AI research agent that thinks and works like a researcher. So it helps you conduct systematic literature reviews, and what this means is that, for instance, if I were doing a question like a physics question from an IGCSE textbook and I want to learn more about a topic like thermodynamics, I would use the deep review feature and it would instantly give me highly relevant research papers about thermodynamics in just a few seconds. Deep Review only provides relevant papers and knows which ones match the question that you ask the AI research to by categorizing papers based on the degree and the topic to ensure clarity. Its intelligent query management feature allows you to search up keywords that will specifically guide you to very particular research papers that are made for your question and pertain to the topic that you've searched about. Through the query transformation feature, it also helps you run multiple searches at once, and the citations feature identifies hidden papers about the topic. So you actually might not come across such hidden papers through a normal Google search, but you will get them through the SciSpace's intelligent query management feature. But it's not just the deep review feature that is so cool about SciSpace. As a current biomedical science student, I often have to submit scientific research papers and essays at university all the time. So I often use sources like PubMed, Google Scholar, and things like that. But with the SciSpace feature, called the browser control feature, I can search for papers across multiple platforms at once, including PubMed, Google Scholar, and Science Direct, as well as many more, all in one go. Because I personally think as an IGCSE student, or if you're a student just going into university, this feature of SciSpace is going to save your grade. The link to the SciSpace website, the deep feature review, as well as the browser control features are all linked in the description box below, additionally with some coupon codes for you guys, so please do check it out. And with that, let's get back into the video. Alright, tip number 1 is about the formula sheet. So if you have not studied anything for physics yet, this is the one and only thing I would recommend you guys do immediately. So the formula sheet is actually attached to the syllabus or specification document. So go to your official Cambridge website. You'll see something called an orange document. It's somewhat like a syllabus document which you guys should know of already and should have printed out. So the interesting thing is that this specification or syllabus document has a bunch of formulas divided by topic. So what I want you guys to do right now is take up a blank sheet of paper, so a blank A4 paper, and write down the formulas, copy them off of the syllabus or the specification document, and make sure you divide them by topic. So I would divide them by topic. Let's say my magnetism and the electricity formulas go under that section, and my forces formulas go under the forces section. What I would do now is use the traffic light system. I have talked a lot about this in a lot of my other videos as well, but it's a super useful way to segregate topics based on difficulty. So what this means is that when you segregate it by difficulty, the red section should represent the hardest or the most difficult topics. The yellow section of the traffic light system should represent topics that you sort of have an idea about, like you understand them, but let's say if a question was given to you, you would not be able to get full marks on it. The green section represents questions that you know you are good at, you are confident in, and you'll be able to get full marks if a question is presented to you on it. So this way you're able to divide topics and the formulas based on difficulty, so that if you put the red section, the hardest section, on the top of your blank A4 sheet, the formula sheet, you'll be able to access that section very easily and very quickly in the exam. So keep in mind in the exam that your formula sheet, the red section goes on the very top, the yellow section's in the middle, and the green section's on the bottom. That way in the exam, when you're scrolling through the questions and you're trying to find formulas, the hardest topic ones you know for a fact they're at the top, so it sort of eases you and makes you feel less stressed in the exam, and you have that mindset that okay, I can tackle this question now because I know the formulas right there. Tip number 2 is all about unit conversions. Unit conversions are super important in physics, and especially for paper 2. Make sure you guys know how to convert the units from one measurement to another. For instance, how to convert kilojoules to joules, centimeters to meters, volts to millivolts, things like that. Know your unit conversions to your heart, and make sure that you keep it aside with your formula sheet as well. So knowing the formulas is really important, knowing how to convert units is also really important, and make sure that in these next couple of days leading up to the paper 2 physics exam, you are practicing those unit conversions. So take up multiple choice questions from past papers, keep practicing them and keep practicing those unit conversions and using those formulas as well to get really quick and really accurate with it, because that will save you a lot of time in the exam when you're doing those multiple choice questions. Tip number 3 is about focusing on high yield topics to maximize your marks. So in IGCSE Physics Paper 2, there are certain topics that are tested more often than the others, and usually this is things like electricity and magnetism, or forces, work, power, kinetic energy, potential energy. That's a super common question, especially the conversion of kinetic energy to potential energy, gravitational potential energy, and vice versa. Knowing how to focus on these topics and spend more of your time and energy into these topics will really help to boost your marks and that gap in your marks. So make sure you're using again the traffic light method. So this can be used in this scenario as well, such that the red here would represent the most commonly tested topics, or the ones that I should immediately focus on. So this is a topic that I'm going to be doing right now, I'm going to be studying right now. So that's red. I have yellow, which is the topics that are kind of commonly tested but not as common or as super common as the red topics. And then I've got green topics, which are kind of rare to be tested, not super commonly tested, so I'm going to do that last. Now if I were to give you guys a list of the topics that are most commonly tested, usually in physics it's electricity, so Ohm's law, knowing how to work with series and parallel circuits, and calculations involving current, voltage, resistance, as well as mechanics. Mechanics is usually questions like motion, forces, momentum. Waves is also a really common topic, so that's studying properties like the wave properties, for instance reflection, refraction, sound, light, waves, things like that. And lastly, you should brush up on magnetism as well, including magnetic fields, electromagnetism, because these are the ones that are commonly featured in all paper 2 exams. So focus on these topics to make sure you're maximizing your marks for the physics paper 2 exam. Tip number 4 is prioritizing understanding over memorization. So in IGCSE Physics, it's the one subject where understanding is so much more important than memorization compared to biology and chemistry, where you can get away with some level of memorization. In IGCSE Physics, the reason why understanding is so important is because certain questions require you to have a conceptual understanding of the topic. For instance, in increase and decrease questions, usually IGCSE physics examiners, they love to put in these increasing versus decreasing questions between variables to show you the link and how variables are connected and related to each other. So it might be that this variable increases, this variable decreases. What is the proportionality or the relationship between these two variables? For instance, have a look at this question. So in this question, what it says is, for instance, I have a variable where it's like it shows an increase in this variable and a decrease in this other variable. So this would be an inversely proportional relationship between the two variables. So you need to make sure you're looking at these sorts of questions and take a moment to recall the qualitative relationships between two variables. Usually this would show up in questions about Boyle's law. Let's say the relationship between pressure and volume. If the pressure increases, the volume decreases in Boyle's law. If you are unsure, make sure you visualize this relationship. So what I usually do is I draw a graph on every single question that I'm doing about this on the side of the paper, and that really helps me visualize what the relationship is and write down the exact terminology, which in this case is an inverse proportionality or an inversely proportional relationship. These questions are put in by examiners to check your understanding of the topic. So make sure you're really going through proportionality, relationships, variables to crack these sorts of questions in the paper 2 exam. And lastly, tip number 5 is the process of elimination using contextual understanding. So now everybody talks about the process of elimination. It's a standard when it comes to multiple choice exams like the IGCSE Physics paper 2 exam. But it's more important to know the context of a question than just blindly eliminate a bunch of options to get to the right answer. So the context of a question means is actually what the question says. So if the question says that Sarah goes to work and she goes at a speed of X kilometers per hour and she covers X amount of or Y amount of distance, let's say, what is the force that is applied? Let's say some sort of question like this, right? So in this case, you need to look at the variables and also look at what the scenario is. So she's going to work, so you need to see if your answer, let's say, is appropriate to the numbers that are given in the question. If the question ranges in terms of numbers from about like 20 to 40 and your answer comes in like the thousands range, obviously that doesn't make sense, right? So that's an option in multiple choice that you can eliminate right away, being like, no, that's not the right answer. I'm sure that there's another option that's going to be more fitting to the context of this question. This can also be shown through questions about electricity. For instance, if the question is about a solid block and it asks what happens to the resistance when it is heated, thinking through the scenario is useful because you need to keep in mind resistance usually increases with temperature in conductors. So if one of the options is, saying that resistance decreases with temperature increases, that's wrong. So you know that this is the one I can eliminate and move on to the other options. Usually in physics, 2 of the 4 options are completely wrong. This is always the case. 2 of the 4 options are going to be wrong. So you can immediately eliminate those 2 options. There's going to be 2 options left, out of which one of them is going to more similarly match to the context of the question and to the scenario given, and that's usually what the right answer is. So this is a really good way of eliminating options and making sure you're accurately getting the answer right. It's not really guesswork because you actually have to think through the options, and so it's much more likely to get you to the right answer and get you full marks in the exam. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, do make sure to like, share and subscribe to Biolog, and do let me know any other video ideas you've got in the comment section down below. Do you want me to do a bunch of different topics or a bunch of different subjects, maybe more guides similar to this? Let me know in the comment section down below, and do check out SciSpace because their AI features are just amazing, and I will 100% be using them in university this semester, and I highly recommend you guys as IGCSE students use them when preparing for your exams too. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.